Yes, here we go. It's P.M.P time. Post-match pish. I'm joined by Phil McGinley and Liam the Punked Up Warlord over in Canada. Good morning to you, my friend. Terry Robb is missing. He is in Benidorm. People think I give him a hard time in this bus. Fucking 1 weekend, lads, and he's away on holiday. He just had the. I gave him 12 weeks off before that. So don't back down, double down. He will be getting it tighter than ever in the next post match. Anyway, Celtic 3-1 at Pittodrie today. We will get stuck into it. A lot of panicking going on out there again. I think the transfer window and performance are becoming merged into one and thus magnifying a lot of it. But we'll debate it all because there is negatives all the time that we can talk about, and there's also positives too. And I think somewhere in the middle we will try on this this latest episode of the bus to get to the truth of the matter. Right, okay, we'll do all that good stuff first because remember, plenty of post-match shows out there. We want the bus to be flying up the motorway at 100 miles an hour. So please, right now, if you're on the bus, hit the like button. Do it now. Give us a wee thumbs up. Give us a share. Slag the hair. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many of you have, such as Jim Dolan, Danny O'Malley, Jim C, Sam Fan Celtic, and many, many more. Craigie, Les Watts, loads of yous. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, it helps the channel. It's $1.99 a month, but it's totally optional. We don't just take money. Dan Breen, whoever the fuck you are. Right, okay. Nobody cares, mate, what you think. Right, okay. Piesports.com as well. Remember, it's 12.5% tasty discount at the checkout when you make an order to piesports.com. And thank you as ever to them for their sponsorship. Now, Phil, Pittodrie. I know the mood music before the game. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, obviously, with the amount of content we put, the amount of shows, the run up to this game, the narrative from many people, many Celtic fans, and our live chat all over social media has been, it's going to be a tough game on Sunday, big test for us on Sunday. To absolutely nobody's shock, it was a tough game, and we navigated it and got the 3 points. But there seems to be a lot of anger and panic about the game, and it's like, well, majority of folk were saying it was going to be a tough game, which it was, and we'd be on it. So it's like it played out exactly how people predicted. But the bottom line is this: we got the 3 points. Was it perfect? No, of course it wasn't. There's still things that we need to highlight and talk about. But ultimately, if you said to anyone it's before the game, we go up there, we have a bit of a tough time of it, but we come with the 3 points. Everyone will take that every day of the week. So overall, yeah, I'm happy that we've got that one out of the way. It's early in the season. We've been given Pittodrie, as a venue to go to 2 games in, and it's good to come away with the 3 points. I imagine there were fans of certain other clubs that were watching today in the hope that we would be dropping points early on, but alas, that was not to be. So on to the next one we go.
On to the next one we go. Indeed, Liam, it's 2 games, goal difference of +4, a home win and away win, and as in the famous words of Odson Edward all those years ago, top of the table.
Top of the table, reading a book. That was my other favourite Odson Edward line. That's it, what it is. There's a lot of negatives, I think, towards today. I can see why people are pointing out some of the deficiencies. That game really highlighted some of it. It shows that what we need to do to put this team together, that we're not settled. We're still so deficient in players coming in and that. And so I think that's where some of the negative comments are coming. We can address them later. But as Phil said, right, it's 3 points, top of the table, goal difference, doing okay. But my God, if that doesn't put a rocket up the board's arse to go out and sign some players this week, I don't know what will. Because we were expecting a couple of signings this week and we got one. But it's glaringly obvious. And that's the thing. It's like we managed to get a win out of that. But, a win at the beginning of the season is just as important as a win at the end. It's still 3 points. And right now we've started our season with a weaker team than we had last year. That was pretty obvious today.
Yeah, domestically, undeniably, felt the season has begun. We can't deny it, and it is not as strong a team as what we had that finished last one. I think that's fair. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I didn't expect us to be stronger yet. I stand by it. I'm still in the same lane I've been.
Yep.
My argument is still as consistent as it's always been. Brendan trusted himself to navigate the first few games with a treble winning team minus 1 or 2. He backs himself to do that. And he knew some of the heat he would get would be because the performance levels wouldn't be right up there. We're looking at a guy, Mickey Beale, yesterday talking about his first game in charge again when it was his 31st. This is Brendan's second game in his new spell. It's a completely different squad now. So it's not like we could look at his time before and use that even remotely. This is a completely different team, bar Cal Mack and James Forrest for 15 minutes every now and then. So he's dealt with it. This is his second competitive game. Now, I get the point. A rocket up the bold's arse, etc. What if there is no rocket required? And this is exactly the direction of travel that they have planned. Brendan says, I'm going to need the first few league games to gather my thoughts. I'm not going to go on 6-4 against Gamba Osaka and go, right, we need this, and this. You can only take so much from these sort of games, ladies and gentlemen, right? I think he'll have been acutely aware, Phil, that there would be positions that he'd improved on. However, he wants to know for sure. And how'd you find out? I tell you what, Pittodrie's a pretty good testing ground to find out what areas there are of the team he needs to improve on and why that will be now more laser focused as we enter in, still in the first half of August, but as we enter the second half of August. This is where I said it would get down to the nitty gritty and Brendan would get to business. I fully expect it now. The flip side is time will tell. If he doesn't and come the 1st of September, we've not. It won't be a rocket up the board's arse, it'll be a shark the lot, because rest assured I will be very much switching camps, switching from my position of I think this is what had to happen, how Brendan wanted it to happen, and I think he wanted to find out for himself, not going hearsay, not just sign players because the fans want him to sign players who he wants to sign in positions he's identified. That is going to take time. Also, if it's going to be of a level that Brendan wants to work with, Phil, it may well be some of them opportune moments arrive into this next wee stage of the window. That is not me trying to continually push something that I'm in the know of or anything. It's just something I've suspected the whole time. In fact, do you know what? We have came through it unscathed, right? Because we have got 6 points so far. But undeniable, whether people like this or not, Brendan is better versed now in deciding the future signings that get made than he was before the season started, because he's got these 2 competitive games in. Yes, we've navigated them. Some people might say by hook or by crook. I see a 4-2 win and a 3-1 win away at Pittodrie. 3-1 at Pittodrie. When's that ever been a negative result? It never has been under anyone.
Never.
So I think what's happening is, as the window closing edges on the horizon and gets a wee bit, that close slamming door just closing a wee bit further and further, people are then magnifying that and transferring their worry about that onto every little thing on the park. Was there deficiencies in the team today? Yes. And will we discuss them as the show goes on today? Yes. But first and foremost, what I would like to highlight is the basics here that happened today, right? First goal scorer, Leela Bada, meant to be away at the end of last season. That was the story. Brendan, we understand, has kind of talked him round. I know there's been rumours recently. Don't know what to make of that. But it seemed like he decided his future did lie with Celtic. Brendan played a role in that. He scores. Kyogo scores the second. Almost everyone thought if Postecoglou leaves Celtic, he'll take Kyogo with him. Kyogo signed a 5-year deal under Brendan Rodgers. Third goal, Matt O'Reilly looked like he wanted away, being convinced to stay, scores a goal. So that's your 3 scorers, all different ways there's been a Brendan influence there. Then we get the 2 subs. Yang gets an assist. He's one of a group of 5 players signed that would have never been under or written off or kind of just disregarded had it been under Ange Postecoglou. Let's get that right as well. Yang comes on with an outstanding assist, and Holm is getting loads of praise as well. That's 2 out of the signings that have been written off that every fan's been impressed with today. Brendan is at work. He is at work. He is meticulous. He is patient, unlike us fickle fans. And I think the reactions right now are we're all getting a wee bit tetchy because that window is getting closer. I would just say brace yourself, because my faith lies in the manager. And I think he now has a better understanding of what's required, and he will definitely push to get that in between now and the end of the window.
Yeah, we've now got 2 weeks, I think, to the next league game, because next weekend it's the League Cup against Kilmarnock, which it is what it is. The League Cup it's not high on the priority list, put it that way. But the next league game, St Johnstone, 2 weeks. So we've got quite a window here to obviously build on that. There's no way Brendan Rodgers could have looked at that performance today and went, everything's hunky-dory. I think a lot of fans are sort of overlooking the fact, and we know this from Brendan's previous time as manager, he does obviously work with younger, you can improve players, find them another level. Are we sort of overlooking that fact? That he's even said himself that he's more about working with players and developing them and so on. People always criticise his transfer record anyway, but they're shouting about him. They want to go out and buy players and spend money willy-nilly, but we'll also quote, "Oh, but he wasted all this money at Liverpool," and so on. So it's weird. It's like you get like two different opinions when it comes to this. So it feels like there's no happy medium right now with some of the debate. Overall, say today, you're right to say about the Yang and Home. I thought Home when he came on did look very tidy, and again, he's one of these guys that's being grouped in the we're only signing project players for £2 million, but those people coming away and saying he looked really accomplished, tidy on the ball. Yang with an assist. So it's kind of like, don't write these guys off right away, because you're 100% correct with what you're saying about Postecoglou. If he signed those players, everyone would be like, oh, what a genius move by Ange Postecoglou. Rio Hatate costs less than £2 million, and he's regarded as the best player on the team. So it's like, don't just write them off because they're £2 million signings that you've never heard of.
Look at the last window, Phil. It was getting described as the best summer transfer window ever. It was the worst.
In the end, because how many of those players are still here and established themselves in the first team? I mean, Abelgard was one of the biggest farces in terms of the signings. We all thought he was going to be some great answer, this big rock of a defensive midfielder. Barely got a look in at all. And he was gone after, 6 months? His loan was cut short, essentially. So, at the end of the day, with the whole transfer stuff at the moment, again, I understand that, as fans, you always want something shiny and new. You want the big ticket item. You want to see the big price tag. It'd be amazing to see it happen. But at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers has got a track record of developing players that he works with. So there could be players there right now that he's going to bring on to another level. We keep on talking about it and we say, look at what happened his first time around, the amount of players that, I can't believe that he found another level in them. So that might be the way it goes. And if it results in victories and wins, so be it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. As long as Celtic getting the 3 points on the board, however they do it, that's all that matters, Russell.
Indeed, Liam. Talk to me about what you've heard so far. Let me know what you're thinking, mate. You can push back, mate. It's the P.M.P. I'm used to arguing with Terry. I've already been him fell out about 3 times by now, mate. So crack on.
I'm ready to double down and do the Terry stance here right now. And
love it.
Talk about his deficiency as well. And I'm surprised at Rodgers. I'm surprised with a man that's that astute and that got that much football knowledge can ignore the fucking absolute clown show we have gone at a left back. If you've got a car you're driving to work every day and you're looking back and you're seeing that left back tyre, isn't he right? That it's wobbly, it's flat, it can't do its job, it can't do anything. Everybody's going to be telling you to replace that. And that's why I think I sound like a broken record. Because right now, I think when you look at a guy like Greg Taylor coming in, being the first name on the team sheet at that position, and yet he's nowhere near any one of even the best players in the team. That really annoys me. And it's like, okay, Brendan, unless we're holding out for Tierney, and that's going to be the thing where he's just the thing, and so we're waiting to see that we don't want to sign somebody else for that position. But I think we Barnaby, bombing himself out with idiotic shit.
I predict that though, eh?
We need a backup for Tierney if we get him anyway, because Greg Taylor's proven that even at the Scottish level, he is not up to the task for this. He's not. This is a guy that does nothing to benefit himself physically or anything, or I don't see any improvement, any upside to him. I don't think he can get better. The best Greg Taylor's played, we've seen him play that. And that's when he's got a mission and we're not under a lot of attack, where he can hug a touchline and play a 10-yard ball back and forward to McGregor or maybe one down the win to dies, and he'll take some throw-ins, he'll try to steal some yards, That's basically it. And then he'll get ragdolled anytime anybody comes near him. The amount of balls that he lost in the air, the amount of times he got turned, the amount of tackles, the amount of times he mistimed balls, fucking terrible. And it's like, okay, so Rodgers, you've seen this. If you watched all our games last season, you could also see towards the end of the season as well, that position. Burnaby wasn't doing it, and Taylor was starting not to do it. And I think that affects a lot of the players going into those positions as well. Starfelt, a lot of the stuff that Starfelt got a lot of scrutiny for was him coming over to fill in for Taylor at times as well. I remember that penalty that we gave away at Ibrox. That was it. That was Taylor lost his man, Fashion Sakala, whatever it was, and Starfelt had to come in and made that lungy tackle because Taylor just let him go. And and it sounds like I'm being overly harsh on Greg Taylor, but no, we talk about guys like coming out like Yang and all that, saying I want to be the best player in the team. Taylor's never off of social media. Taylor's never, like, anytime there's any Celtic stuff, it's always Taylor in the media. It's always Taylor, like, in these wee sort of things that, that they produce for the shows. And then, fucking, end it as well, you ask people, who's the loudest in the dressing room? Taylor. How the fuck is he the loudest in the dressing room? What can he be telling anybody? Here's what I would do. I want you to do this. So just shut the fuck up. Learn to play football. And he's got his own fucking telly show. It's only Tea Time with Greg or what? Tea Time with Taylor. They're fucking start crossing some balls or something with your left foot. Learn how to play fucking football. Anyway, Terry, fucking love you, man. That was me channeling you.
I believe that's being telt. I believe would be the word to use there. Greg Taylor, telt.
Our prayers are with Greg Taylor tonight.
Oh my God.
Taylor. Greg Taylor, Andy Taylor, rest of Duran Duran.
Poor guy.
Oh.
Greg, someone check in on Greg, man. Make sure he's all right. I hope he doesn't jump on the bus anytime soon. But wait, there's harsh realities that are undeniably going to be facing. One thing I'm going to say as well, see whatever way we're reacting to when we're watching the game, everyone's entitled to impulsive reactions as well. I don't think that one is. That's been given with evidence from last season as well by the Punk Ducks. That's fair enough. But what I would say is, as you're watching the game, if you're on Twitter or whatever at the same time, whatever social media platform you use, there's a lot of reactionary stuff going on. It's instant reaction, and some of it's hysterical. Of course it is. But see, when you're seeing these deficiencies and things, if you can see it, don't think our manager can't either.
No.
Right? If anything, what he's doing right now by not having made the moves that everyone's desperate for him to make, with now evidence in competitive fixtures, what he's actually done that's very clever here is strengthen his hand, not weaken it. Because you can point to, here's the evidence why I think we need to improve on this position. Now, someone like Brendan would probably get a wee highlights reel sorted of the deficiencies of a certain position and go, I can't have that player there. I need to go forward further if my plan's going to be implemented properly, things like this. So I wonder if he's actually playing a blinder here, Brendan Rodgers, because he's actually got the fans split as well. So there's a lot of noise about, come on, all eyes on the board. Rodgers has now navigated fixtures, won games, but the fans are still pissed off. That amplifies, your cause when you go, now we've got 2 weeks left. What are you going to do here? There's my list. Now it's time to make those moves. Now it's time to be ambitious. Now you've seen the evidence on the park of what's required. I'm telling you what I need. The fans are in demand that we need to do more. There's outcries left, right and centre. It'll be interesting. Do you know what I mean?
It's the terms of the teams of them, like, you learn more from a defeat. Now, obviously we didn't lose, but that's a well-known thing in football. You learn more from like defeats, bad performances, than you do a good performance. Because today wasn't, as a glittering performance. It was a win nonetheless. But you've got to imagine he's looked at that and seen that. But what William said there, and that incredible rant there about Greg Taylor was quite something. But he's right in a lot of the things he pointed out. And there's a few other areas as well where it's like, God, we need to definitely reinforce there. I mean, we've said enough about, with Ralston, the fullback as well. At the moment, he's having to play because Johnson's injured. Johnson comes back and gets injured again. I've said, even if somebody just on loan to cover that area or cover both sides of the fullback, these are things we need to look at in the middle of the park. Last week we sang the praises of David Turnbull. But today, he was completely invisible, and those are the games that he's going to get judged on, because, again, many people said it was going to be a tough one going up to Pittodrie, which It was, and he just wasn't in it at all. Because in the first half, we seemed to have no control at all of the game. The way it was panning out, like we were all over the shop, even though we were winning at half time. Aberdeen were making more chances and looked like really aggressive and in our face. Now, people will point out, and they are right to say this, how many saves did Joe Hart actually have to make? And I believe it's like none. It was all shots that were off target, but they were still getting shots in and they were forcing chances. They were very aggressive with us. But in the second half, like I felt like something changed in terms of the way we controlled the game. Like we weren't perfect again in the second half. There was a wee flurry in the middle of the second half where Aberdeen had a few more chances again. But ultimately, you could tell there was a massive change in the pace in the second half where we got control of the game and just sort of said, no, we're going to play at our pace now. Because that first half, they were just in our face, so aggressive. But we did weather the storm. And I think a guy, we want to talk about positives that we need to look at, is Nawrocki. I thought he was great today in terms of some of the tackles he was putting in. A very unorthodox way sometimes of tackling, where it was just a case of just get a toe on it any way, shape or form, just get a slide tackle in. Doesn't need to be perfect, just make sure you block it in some way. I thought he stood up really well to a lot of things, so he looked really good. And obviously it was a blow to see Carter Vickers go off at half-time. I believe Gordon Duncan might have said that the word from the Celtic bench, it was a precautionary measure.
Rogers said he thought he felt his hamstring again, so they just made sure.
So precautionary. And he's not the answer before anybody says anything, but I will give credit where it's due. Thought Stephen Welsh did fine when he came on. He wasn't outstanding, but he did solid enough, because obviously many people's hearts would be in their mouth when Stephen Welsh came on. Like, oh God, oh no, Stephen Welsh, oh no, what's going on? But he did fine when he came on. So I think in the second half, I think Aberdeen had tired themselves out after an aggressive first half. They seemed to slow down a bit. But I felt he did okay. But I'm not saying that he is the answer long term. Before everybody in the chat says, no, we can't have Welsh. But for what it's worth, I thought he did okay when he came on. So credit where it's due there.
Indeed. It's a display that is, I mean, I think I can see why people have got negative views to it. I'm very much still in the Zen camp, the positive camp, right now. When we look at the positives, though, I mean, again, Nawrocki, or Rocky, as I was just going to call him Rocky. Rocky came in, I think he's around £4 million for Legia Warsaw. I think he does look natural on the ball, looks more comfortably suited to having the ball at his feet. And the thing is, we are going to have domestically a lot of possession. I think sometimes you do need a wee bit more substance when you've got the ball at your feet. What was actually happening was Spfl, everyone was sitting off him, letting him come forward and almost allowing him to make a mistake. Do you know what I mean? That's what teams sussed very quickly, that he didn't actually want to have the ball for long. So they would sit off him and let him kind of try and navigate forward. And he did have a sort of gangly sort of technique as well. It probably made him look more awkward than what he actually maybe was, or less suited to it. But yeah, Rocky just looks like he's got a bit of assurance about it, a bit of authority. And as I say, comfortable on the ball as well. I think that potentially is an upgrade on Spfl. Early days for that, of course. This is the guy that had 48 games unbeaten. But notwithstanding that, I am looking forward to seeing Rocky develop. With Stephen Welsh, if he's now third choice, I would say that would tell me the centre-half area, though, nonetheless, that department has, went backwards. Now, that is not because I don't think he did particularly well today. I thought he did okay. I probably got more than pass marks. He's probably a solid 7 out of 10. In the long term, I am not convinced that would be who I would want as my third choice centre back. Do you envisage that there will be another centre half coming in to push Rocky? And if so, what sort of profile would you think? We've been linked with, obviously, the boy in Holland, who I think people are lazily just comparing to Virgil van Dijk because he plays in a green strip and he's Dutch. I'm like, all right, no worries, because there's loads of Van Dijks cutting about for £1.8 million. Of course he is. And again, that would mean you would have two guys of the same age, maybe pushing each other's development, and I can see that, a bit of peer pressure, as it were. I could see how that sort of dynamic could work. Or would you go in for the Kolo Toure sort of mould? And I don't mean he needs to be 35. I just mean someone with a hell of a lot more experience, maybe for a year, 2 years, that could come in and be your guide. Be someone that you could hang your hat on. He's going to be steady. He's not the long-term answer. You're not going to get a sell-on for him. He is a short-term investment who will help progress Nawrocki. or Rocky. I'm just going to call him Rocky. You will progress Rocky and be a safe pair of hands, as it were. Do you know what I mean? At the back, alongside CCV, when the going gets tough, you'll be able to count on that sort of player. I'm not sure which way I would go. What do you think?
I think you said it before. I'd like a Colo Torre in a way. I think, and I said this at the very beginning of the season, that I'd like to see somebody come in that's got like a proper Champions League pedigree. Somebody that's played in games, somebody that's played in a lot of games, got through rounds, knows how to gel a team together. Somebody for Italy, somebody for France, but somebody with just that experience, like the same way Joe Hart was relied on when he came in to one, sell the team that, hey, we've got really good players, but also someone that's just a bit of smart so that the young boys that are experienced...
It's a good example of that. It's a good example of that. That's a good example. The Joe Hart effect undeniably was brilliant.
Right? So somebody that can just, he's not like that now, but somebody that can just calm everybody down as well, like when we tend to get panicked or we get rattled, and you see the heads out down, because we've got some players that just show fear right away. And you've seen that last year and some, as soon as the heads went down, bang, we started getting over. Going back to Nawrocki, Nawrocki, is that you say his name? Nawrocki?
Rocky, he's called Rocky.
No, there was one ball that he put through to Maeda that I really liked. There was one point where he got the ball and he just lifted his head and he seen a run going and he pinged it. He pinged it right into the 18-yard box and Maeda was got a touch on it and he was lucky not to do more with it than that. And it was like, I was really, when I seen that happen, I was like, all right, okay, we've got a player here now as well. Now, we've got the Swedish boy as well. I think we signed him through the week as well. And maybe we might see him coming into the team alongside Rocky right now. That might be the two pairing. Because like with Welsh right now, I like Welsh. I think Welsh is a good player. I think if Welsh went to Italy and got a season with somebody, he could probably end up like a Jack Hendry type of player. Maybe, coming back with a bit more of a swan song, a bit more of a swagger, if he came back and series football. But right now, I think, I don't know, with fans, just nobody's really... the expectations aren't very high for Welsh to do well. And so you're just sort of like, if he does well, it's great. If he doesn't, but he's not had a standout game in a long time. I think beginning of last year or a year or two, he was scoring goals at the beginning of the season in his head and that. And I remember him playing against Real Betis. I thought he was one of the best players in the park. I mean, it's an upside. Let's see what Rodgers can do with him as well. I don't think he put a foot wrong.
Did all right when he came on, man.
Did Lagabiko sign? Is he signed?
It's not official yet, but it's looking at 99% done. All the sort of clues are pointing to it's going to be announced early next week, I think. Oh, yeah.
Nike Tuesday. Maybe we'll sign somebody else, huh?
There's, I think he Rodgers. I don't want to try and quote because my memory's shite, right? But I watched it, the post-match interview that he did just before we went live, and he did say something along the lines of we're going to be busy over the next week or two as well. Which, again, I'm not trying to be a smartass. This is when I expected us to get busy, right? I'm just delighted that we've came unscathed through those first two games, and just say if my hypothetical theory was to be remotely on the money, then fucking hell, we should be excited because it would be amazing to see us now go, right, who's now looking like they're not going to get a game at their club or who's fallen out of favour, what bids have failed for those normally out of reach targets, and we start bringing them in to implement a team that's apparently on its knees that can still go to Pittodrie and win 3-1. This should be now this should be the bit where you start going back to the beginning of when Rodgers was announced and going, what the fuck's he came here for? Because I think this is what's leading to a lot of the confusion, Phil, for a lot of fans, and they're struggling to get their heads around it, is you've went from this real sort of feeling of euphoria, for a lot of people anyway, that we've went out proactively and brought in the best possible candidate, smashed our wage structure to bring Brendan Rodgers back to replace Ange. And that was, for a lot of people, I know some don't like the way Rodgers departed and can't forgive. That's fair enough. That's their gift. That's sound. But I think in the main, when you actually look at his managerial abilities, a lot of people got a lot of excitement out of Celtic mean fucking business here. What then transpires is people expect then each week to be seeing Rodgers level players coming in week on week. I think if we want to get the players we would associate with an elite manager coming in, it was always going to be at the end of the window. I'm just delighted that we've been able to navigate the game today in the manner that we have.
Yep.
But he's also given opportunities today to like say David Turnbull. We'll go to the midfield department. David Turnbull started the game with O'Reilly, and now again we've got to be honest. If we've seen David Turnbull and Matt O'Reilly starting a game at Pittodrie last season under Ange, we're worried.
Yep.
Remember when Matt O'Reilly started with Tom Rogic away to Bodo Glimt, and it was a car crash. Quite similar in terms of pace and energy between Turnbull and Rogic, you know. Both have this eye for goal, but you don't feel as a combination it's a particularly exciting one. And you would probably think with Tati on the bench, what the hell's going on there? I flip it though and I go, I wonder if, because for whatever reason he's decided to opt for Turnbull the week before, he says he's trained very well. I suspected it was because Tati started that testimonial on the Tuesday and played it like it was a willy-nilly fixture. I think that pissed him off. The round the corner passes, not looking and stuff, and it led to goals for the opposition as well. And I think once you then have a player who comes in and scores 2 goals, you have to give over the message that if you get given an opportunity and you take it, you will be rewarded. You can't go down the line of, this is then back to, because I would be a complete hypocrite very quickly. This would be like me saying last year, when I was saying Giakoumakis, why the fuck's Kyogo starting ahead of him? When Giakoumakis scored 2 goals, then Kyogo came back and I said, that's just banging your head against a wall. When you get an opportunity and you grab it with both hands, you then need to be shown that there is a pathway to this first team and you will get given a chance. Yep. I don't think it was that out the ordinary what happened today. Naturally, though, in the lead up to the game, it led to a lot of people suspecting that means Rio Tati is done. He came on and played pretty well, I thought, this second half. He didn't look like a guy whose head was out the door in terms of his performance. But notwithstanding that, is there something in there? I can't actually put my finger on it because I can see both sides to it, if I'm honest. I can see why people think Hatate would be for the off-skip if he's not started the first 2 games, considering how brilliant he is. But I can also understand, based on what I watched in the last game of pre-season, if you like, the James Forrest testimonial from Hatate, why he might have turned to someone else. A bit of ruthlessness, a bit of a statement. And then when that guy who comes in at his expense scores 2 goals, he's like, I've got to be shown here to be given a fair attitude, not a teacher's pet attitude, as I think sometimes was the case with the previous manager.
Yeah, the best example of that in the previous one was Forrest scored a hat-trick against Hibs and didn't get a game again until Ibrox at the new year. That was like 2 months later. So it's like, you know, a guy scores a hat-trick and then didn't get in. So Turnbull last week scores his 2 goals. Yeah, people can say, oh, well, one of them was a penalty, one was a tap-in, but we don't score many penalties. We've got a track record of fluffing penalties, and at the end of the day, if it's a tap-in, regardless, they've got to be there to score it. So, indeed, you can't really fault him. But today, he did get his start. Was he great? No, we need to be honest. No, he wasn't great at all in the midfield. He was overrun. So Aberdeen were very aggressive in that first half. And as I said earlier on, we like the second half. I did feel we had a lot of control in the game, and I think part of that was when Tati came on. We did seem to calm it down and slow it down. We're like, okay, we'll play at our pace now. We'll hold on to the ball then, like you chase us. And then even when Hatate had to go off injured, unfortunately, I think Home continued that when he came on. In terms of what the future lies for Hatate.
I do like that Home. Wow.
Yeah, he does look a tidy player. So he's like a young player in the year in Norway. So he is I've got high hopes for him. I do think he is
good. To be honest though, see if like it was Todd Modric Cantwell and he changed his name, he's actually added Modric to his name, we'd be ripping the piss out of me.
The fact he picked Thiago though, I'm just like, really? Like Thiago? He's all right, but you know, it's a strange one to have as your idol, but okay.
Russell Henrik boys. He just wouldn't he?
Now, given that Home is Norwegian, see if he changed midweek to Bratback or something, then he would definitely get the thumbs up for us because there's a cult hero if ever there was one. But no, he looked really accomplished when he came on, I felt. And I say in the second half, we did seem to control it a bit better midfield because, yeah, first half we were just overrun. Probably part of that was down to David Turnbull, unfortunately. Say last week, it's all well and good doing it against, Ross County at home, but it's these games away at Aberdeen because we do, of course, have a game at Ibrox coming up in the very near future. And at the moment, if Turnbull, if Hatate does go out the door, would you trust David Turnbull to start that one? My concern, as I said this morning, the Sunday Blether, is if Hatate is going, we're pretty late in the window now. So you'd like to think that if Celtic have, got a heads up that this is happening, they've been doing their due diligence, because to replace a player like that, they're going to have to really dig deep and find somebody pretty special to let him go at this stage. If he'd left early in the window, you'd give them a wee bit, okay, they've got quite a bit of time to work here, but to leave now, oh God, it's cutting it very, very fine. So ideally, we want whatever's going on with Hatate to be worked out and figured out, whatever it is that's going on right now, because he's such a vital part of the team. And, again, today when he came on, he did look like he took control of the game, which is what we needed at that point in time. So it just shows you how vital he is.
No, yeah, absolutely. I want to take this point up with Chilpil, Liam, because I'm glad he said this. I thought this straight away. I listened to Brendan the other day talking about, and he said he's going to be missing for the 4 to 6 weeks. He picked up a knock on the Tuesday game, the testimonial, but we weren't made aware of it. So naturally, he was involved at the weekend. The Ross County game, he's obviously been part of the squad and stuff. And he says, and that's where it's then came to light that he's actually got an injury. And I don't know how. I knew, I was listening to my headphones, I went, it almost sounds like he's kind of saying, what the fuck is wrong with this boy? Do you know what I mean? He's had the injury for 5 days and he's not told us. So we've been caught hit here a wee bit. And Chilpil suggests that that's why Hatate was quite quick to go, I feel an injury here, I'll get off, because clearly behind the scenes, Brendan's made it abundantly clear to the squad, if you've picked up a knock, I don't give a fuck how much you want to play, you're no good to us half fit. Do you know what I mean? So get your personal agenda out the way and start thinking of the bigger picture here. And I wonder if that is very on the money for Chilpil. Great point, pal.
I agree with that. I mean, that's what it looked like. It looked like it was just doing the same. I hope the same's. I hope that's similar with CCV as well. That's the mindset as well. That okay, you know what? I do not want this to accelerate any. We're up right now. Let's take it off. Let's take precautions and just see what we can do. Going back to some of the things Phil was saying, I really liked that boy home when he came on. There was that one point on the wing where he left that defender for dead. It was a nice turn. I thought he added really well into the attack. He was quick. I thought his tackling was good. He's also got a bit of physicality. So again, somebody else that we can pull back, it might be able to work, win a ball in the air. Because, Hatate, Taylor were, on that side, that's where all the big men seem to pile in the high balls, knowing that we can't get to the ones first. Second maybe, first no. Turnbull, if you can play your well into a team as he did last week, I mean, I don't quite agree with that. I thought he played okay last week, scored a penalty. But Tav scores lots of penalties, right? And he did. He got a tap in as well, but I don't think his overall play was that great that he should have been first in the team sheet. At that point, it's his spot to lose. I think we have to stop thinking that way. As you said, as if we've had people with Ange that scored goals and never came back on and that. But if you can play your way into the team, I mean, you sure as hell can play your way out of a team. And that today, to me, was like, okay, you've been given everything, all the opportunity. You've had all the hype this week for the amount of press, the amount of podcasts, all that, just hype and Turnbull, almost trying to make it like a new signing, we've talked about that before as well. And then to come out and then just be that flat, that's not really surprising. I've seen that a lot for David Turnbull and his performances at Celtic. In fact, we've got a number of players that do that. It's like once we start bigging them up, they usually follow that up with just a flat game. I see somebody
left back maybe
that hates Scottish players. That's fucking bullshit, mate. I fucking love Scottish players, but you know what? Just because you're Scottish doesn't mean you're a player. And I look at Greg Taylor and I don't see that as a player. And for me, it seems like a lightning rod now, but it's just so glaringly obvious. I don't see it. I like Scottish players so much that I think there's probably about 3 or 4 different teams playing that position that could fit in. But somehow we've given Greg Taylor this extended sort of contract thing that, we can't get rid of him because he had that couple of good games under Ange and,
couple of games here and
level.
there.
Couple of games.
Anyway.
Celtic comes in. Good to have you on the bus, Celtic. And she said, she likes the look of home and Yang. That'd be 2 out of the 5. So we've praised Rocky, we've praised home, we've praised Yang. Shitey window, nobody's been signed yet. Eyes on the board. Make it make sense, McGinley.
Yeah, this just goes back to the point about you don't just write them off because of the price tag and so on. I do find it interesting, right, that Kwon, I believe, hasn't been on in the 2 games that we've played yet. That
He
one,
did look murder though in that test. I mean, I
yeah,
genuinely was like,
that one's a bit interesting.
I thought, yeah, and it's not because he did the silly talking beforehand, Phil, which I said would be a downfall. I said that'll get magnified now when you play shite. But in that test, I mean, I remember he did a dummy at one point outside his own box.
Yep.
He's not told, like, nobody's got a clue what he's doing. He's just, I'll do a wee step over there. The boy behind me, he'll have a telepathic mind and know everyone's like, what the fuck's he doing? And there was other moments where I thought, oh fuck. And again, I think the talking before you even kicked the ball about being the best player in Scotland stuff. I don't know if there's been a misquote and things like this.
Yeah,
but I do think it sets you up for a fall. And that testimonial game, oh God, awful. So yeah, you're right. I mean, we're looking at the signings. I'm trying to look at the positives. Rocky, we're saying looks very much of a level that can be a Celtic player.
Definitely.
Yang comes on, outstanding assist today. Let's get real here. That was outstanding, and he looks like he's got a bit about him as well.
He's direct. He's very direct. See, when he came on last week against Ross County, the first thing he did, I think we had a throw in. It just came to him and he just ran at them in a straight line, just like ran at the Ross County defence. And it's like you need more wingers to do that and take them on. But it was one of these inverted runs where he was cutting in at an angle. But again, it's like that's good. No, he's no like messing about with funny step overs or anything, looking for a pass. He just ran at them, and it's like that's what you want to see. Wingers do try and make the defence uncomfortable. Fullbacks, centre backs, they don't like it when a player's running directly at them. So I like that about him, where it's just like no, it's just like head down and just go at them. So that's always something I like to see for wingers, and he's clearly got a lot of pace about him as well. Which if you've got Maeda on one wing and say how he starts out, because next week against Kilmarnock, obviously I've seen Holm and Yang people saying they should definitely start next week. Of course they should. It's a League Cup game against Kilmarnock, but this is a game that we should try out a couple of the fringe players and give them a start. And this is the perfect chance for him to really make a match, because we want to see them get a full 90 minutes now, or at least start the game and get a good hour or so, 70 minutes at least. Then you can really start to judge them, because guys coming on for wee 15-minute cameos here and there, what can you really gather for that? So I'm hoping to see like Holm and Yang get a start next week, because the early signs for them are pretty promising.
Well, the thing is as well, again, we'll come to you for the Scottish players bashing, because that's apparently the narrative. We've all got agendas here, McGregor quite poor, says Stuart Miller in the chat. McGregor didn't have a great game today. I wonder if as well one of the benefits of being able to start the likes of a home against Ross County would be fire him in the McGregor role. Let's get out of a cycle where we've got McGregor's standards being held so high, but with no sort of awareness that he's got to do that 60 to 70 times a season. So if you set your standard as high as McGregor has, but then need to repeat that trick between 60 and 70 games a season, guess what? It won't happen. Eventually, that will fall away. He needs to have that more rotation. He's in his 30s now. He's signed a new 5 deal. You might not like the thought of that. Maybe he won't. But I think to preserve him and get the very, very best out of him, I think the amount of games, and he's never subbed off, remember. So when he plays, when you see his appearance column, you might be baffled by that, but it's not just that they're all 90 minutes, 90%, 95% are 90-minute games. Do you know what I mean? Or 111 in some games cases, maybe this season. I think it would be quite refreshing to look at playing the League Cup game with a Celtic team without Callum McGregor in it. And not because we see that as being the future, far from it, but just trying to get into a habit of being able to handle a first team side playing without Cal Mack in it. Because the amount of pressure, I think, as well, when you set your standards so high and you're relied on every single game, home or away, League Cup, Scottish Cups, Europe. I mean, I know the international stuff's nothing to do with Celtic, but you've got to keep it in mind because these are still games he's playing throughout a domestic campaign as well. I think we have to just be going, right, what do we look like without him though in some games as well? And let's get Cal McGregor playing to his best level, 40 to 50 games a season, as opposed to this crazy number of 60 to 70, 90-minute matches. It just seems madness to me. We expect and hold him to that standard that many times year on year.
Yeah, McGregor's a hard one, isn't he? I mean, you can't drop him ever, and yet you can see it out there. Like he needs managed better, just so that we can get more from him, because he has been dropping off a wee bit. There's games that pass him by at times, and there's times where that might be the change we need to make. But we don't know if we can do that right now until we see how these other players show up in a competitive match where it's no already won, and they're coming on to, being 3 goals up or something like that. And so, yeah, I'd like to see Callum get challenged for that point as well. If there's a Scottish player can come in and do it, even better. But right now, yeah, I'd like to see, I don't know if Holmes the one that comes into that, or I know that is Iwata's true role as well. That's his position. Might be interested. Maybe he'll get a start in the cup game, and Home on the wing. If Hatati's out and Turnbull just doesn't look fit for purpose. I mean, but yeah, I'd like to see Home maybe on the left side, and then Iwata in the middle. Keep O'Reilly where he is. It'd be interesting to see how that sort of plays out, and see if Iwata can fill that McGregor role. But you're right, just to give him a rest. He's 30 now. I think we played Brown too much at one point as well, where we started losing the effectiveness of him as well. I mean, he's a great player when he was gone, and when he came back with that face mask, even then it was just to have him back, even at that, knowing he wasn't 100%, he was still better than what we had, or what anybody else could compete with,
I agree with that, Phil. We've got about 12 minutes to go. We'll keep it to an hour today, so I've still got more talking points for the Monday Club tomorrow. I want to talk about a tweet that I put out. I was speaking earlier about the overreactionary, the hysterical reaction. I am not immune to that myself, okay? Kyogo scores today. Instantly go, he will score the most amount of goals in a single season from a single player. I don't know what I'm talking about single there for, but he'll score the most goals anyway since Henrik got 53. Since Henrik got 53 in 2000-2001. I am hedging my bets on it. I think the record since was bang on 40 from Lee Griffiths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was all competitions, wasn't it, for Griffiths across the?
So was Henrik's. 56 was all competitions.
Yep.
So I
think Griffiths.
He will get over 40. He will not get 53. He'll not do that. I don't think I'll see that again in my lifetime. But yeah, I think he will exceed the 40 that Lee Griffiths got and be the closest to Henrik's incredible 53 goal season this year. Last season he got 36, 0 in the Champions League. I expect him to improve in the Champions League now. And I just feel like he looks a better all-round player for me as well. He looks already like Rodgers is going, no. You're not just getting to be a poacher or what. You're going to be a killer in front of goal. Absolutely. But I'm wanting you dropping deep. I can see the intelligence. See the intelligence that are in your runs. I want then you to start implementing that and we round-the-shoulder passes and things like this. He's build up. I think he's going to become a complete player, and he's coming in at the perfect years to do it. I think he feels as well a wee bit of responsibility now. He seems to be mature, and he was like, I know he still does all the at the end. I think when you watch his presence about the part, I don't know, I feel like he's more grown up now. I don't know why. And it's all coming together at the right time for Celtic. I genuinely feel he will get over 40 goals this campaign. Phil McGinley, discuss.
I think that's a good shout, what you're saying there. I think you also said in your tweet, though, if he stays free of injury, I think you did say that as well.
I did say that, yeah. You've got to caveat it with that, of course.
Yeah, because I don't think it's an unrealistic proposition at all. I really don't. I mean, to 53, again, looking at the chances that he misses in a game, that's something we've talked about Kyogo throughout his entire time here. In fact, on his first start, he scored a hat-trick against Dundee, but people who were at that game said he also missed like a hat-trick of chances. Essentially, and it's like he could have scored 6 in one game if he's just that wee bit more ruthless at times and a bit more composure in front of goal. But today, his goal, I thought, was great composure, because we've seen Kyogo miss chances like that in the past where he's got too much time to think, where the defender headed into his path, he's through 1-on-1 with the keeper, could have panicked, but no, he finished it really, really well. compare and contrast to later in the game, Maeda through on goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, takes too long going at an angle and fluffs it. They're two players that we've always highlighted about composure in front of goal. It's something that they just need to sharpen up on. And I think Kyogo is coming into his own now. I thought his finish today was very ruthless. It's like, you don't give him chances like that. The player was it Devlin just headed it right into his path. And it's like, no, he's not missing this time. But I say about a year ago, with the amount of times he does like fluff chances. Look at that Champions League campaign last year. The amount of chances that he got and he fluffed, but no, this time put it away, no problem. And yeah, if he does stay, free of injury, I don't think hitting 40 plus goals, closer to 50, is outside of realms of possibility, because he does make more than enough chances in the game. And even today, there was one that he did miss in the second half where he blazed it over the bar, but I did fault him a bit awkwardly, I know, and he had to try and swing at it a wee bit. But there was an open goal there, and he did so. For the one he does score, he does miss it. It does seem to be a trait of his. If he just finishes all those other chances, and my God, he could come away with hat tricks in every single game.
Yeah.
Honestly, he gets that many chances in a game. So it's not an unrealistic prediction that you put out there. It really isn't.
No, I think Liam as well. You've got to remember this guy's committed his future to us for his peak years, and he's got serious ability, when you watch him. And I think he is, to the fans, he's the apple of a lot of young fans' eyes as well. He's a bit of a talisman for Celtic. I'm really excited to see how he progresses this season. I think he's already made an extremely encouraging start, to say the least.
I'm encouraged that he's given up any sort of desire to be an on-field medic now. That seems to have left his game.
Kyogo, yep.
Running about the park, seeing if people are all right. Now he's like, no, he's getting stuck in. Like, he's wanting to be a wee bit nasty. He's hanging about with different boys in the scheme now and doing it at the van and picking up a couple of cold-blooded, just sort of like, that you can only get away with Scottish defenders. But I can see that as well. Like, you can see him, he's bossing it a wee bit as well. He doesn't look the wee sort of like shy. I think he's getting a wee bit of Glasgow toughness about him. And he's going to need that, playing in this league. Because he got battered again today, another off-the-ball incident that never got looked at. Remember that one, like all of a sudden Kyogo's on the deck, and he's not throwing himself to the deck like, some of the players across the street and all that. Usually is what's happening is he's making a run and he's getting body checked. Somebody's stepping into him and just takes all the wind out of that as well. And that's every bit as much a foul, somebody kicking you that as well when somebody steps right into you like that. So I don't know. I think he's going to be a Larsson. He will be our Larsson this year. He does have a maturity about him, but I think it's coming with a bit of a hardness now that this isn't a game, this isn't fun. Go out there, compete. Guys are going to try and kick you all the other place, and when they go down, trample the weak, huddle the dead.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see his development. I wonder if they will bring in another striker. I think they will. That's my hunch. I think that department will be strengthening. I think Brendan spoke about his flexibility as well, Phil, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see games this season where you'll see the Kyogo partners up there, whether it be O or another as well. Because what we've seen at one point today as well, when Maeda broke free second half, and then he's trying to almost deliberately take the ball to force the angle so before he hits his shot. If I'm honest, he looked unsure of what he was doing. He did not have the courage of his convictions at that point. And it almost looked like, I was like, that couldn't be your third choice striker. O's out right now. So effectively he's your backup, number 9. Yep. I know the Japan manager sees a lot of benefits in Maeda being a number 9 for us. I think it's a bit of a stretch for us to think the same. I've not seen it. I thought that chance today, he's breaking free, and then it almost looked like the sort of thing, I don't know, you would do if you were playing FIFA or something like that. You'd force the angle before you hit the shot. I'm like, fucking hell, man. Like, you could tell what was happening there. That's not a backup striker to me. I know Maeda gets a lot of heat. I like him in the team, and I can see why Brendan's playing him in the team very much so. I do like what he brings to the side. Styles make fights. Not everyone needs to be a carbon copy of each other. We've got plenty of technical ability in the squad. Sometimes you do need guys that can bring the graft, bring the running, bring the press. He can honestly put so much pressure on other defenders and force them deep. He can lead that brilliantly. And I do think you need that sort of mix. As my backup striker, though, for the next 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Not for me, Phil.
It's I think this just for me personally today, but when he was running through on goal, now like normally we get a chance like that, you'll naturally sit forward, or there'll be some sort of like, oh, here we go, we're going to score. I genuinely was just like, I was so unsure because that's what you get with Maeda, where you don't know what's going to happen next. So there was no guarantee. There was a point where there was a pass still on, but once he went by that point of no return and he was committing to the shot, I was still like, I don't know, man, if he's going to score here. And yeah, the keeper never committed to it and was able to save it with his legs. So he's not got that composure yet in front of goal that, say, the Kyogo's developing really well. But no, we do need another striker, definitely. If O is going to is injured for a wee while now, we definitely have another option here. And again, it's names that we've discussed that have came up. Just even somebody that's happy to be a second choice. Maybe they are a bit late on in their career, but they're happy to be second choice. They'll do a job whenever they come on or whenever they play. An experienced head of some kind. Just somebody that can come in and just fill that role. Because ultimately, Kyogo's going to be the number one striker, and Brendan likes to play with one man, through the middle. It's like, two wingers and a guy in the middle. So if it's somebody that's happy to be that, I'm not going to get a game every week, but if they're on the team sheet, if they are coming off the bench, you're going to get something out of them, then I'm happy with that. Because, at the moment with Maeda, it's still a bit up in the air in front of goal. He's still a bit too ropey for me. And I say that chance today, my body language, when he was running through on goal, I was just kind of like, I just didn't think it was, I just wasn't confident enough at that point,
You fucking nailed it, pal. You've nailed it. That was exactly it. You fucking knew. He ain't scoring here. Liam, let's look at the shopping list then. Have a bit of fun. Sunday afternoon. Why not? Let's do the shopping list. I still think there'll be plenty of signings made, so let's do a shopping list for it. You're going to the transfer market. You're picking up a left back, Liam. I'll do that bit for you. We've heard your views on the left back situation, so we can safely put LB on the list. What other areas are you looking for? Are you looking for a striker as well? And what other positions?
Striker, goalkeeper. That's a big thing for me. We definitely want another striker. I want a striker in the mould of Giacomakis. We already had that. We already found it. They're so hard to find guys like that that can boss the game, and that's what was different. And so I'd like to see us go back out and find that power striker. I mean, players like Haaland and Ibrahimovic, being strikers have changed the game. Now the backs and all that, like, they're absolutely Goliaths, massives. And sometimes you need a boy you can fling on there that's going to fling some of the defenders a bit as well to make room for Kyogos and Abadas and the Dysons for the weird guys, to give them a wee bit more room, as well as being able to challenge in the air and bring the knockdowns and all that, again, that give these like quick sort of versatile players a chance to just sort of react in the box and gather, and finish some of the drop-offs and stuff. We don't have a lot of that. I was watching us pump high balls in, and there was a passage of play where the ball went out wide, and then the final option was to fire it in to Kyogo to aerial challenge with the goalie and one of the defenders. So I want a bruiser in there, somebody that can actually take that and say, okay, if that's your position and it's just you, I want a striker who's got the confidence to go one-on-one and make something out of that, either something for himself or something he can bring down and share with other players. Joe Hart, he had a couple of moments again today, didn't he? There was a couple of times where he just, there was one where he gave the ball right to them. There was a couple of other times where he just looked very, very indecisive. He was looking for CCV, and if CCV wasn't on, I don't think he was as sure as Rocky there. And you could see a wee bit of hesitation, and it went back and forward a couple of times in tight area. It wasn't a panic. But when
he was decisive, he nearly injured him and Stephen Welsh.
Aye. Well, Liam, can I ask you something about Joe Hart's performance today? Did you notice today he was coming out for a lot more crosses, and even though he wasn't coming and catching them all, he was making sure he got a hand on them, because one of his biggest things, and of course we lost a goal last week to Ross County because he kind of stood on his line, sort of static. Today he was making sure that he came for any cross, and even if it was just a case of just swatting it away, he was getting it done. And even in the post-match interview with Sky, they highlighted that about him coming out for crosses more, and he was mentioned, I've been trying to do that, because that has been one of his biggest deficiencies, is he doesn't come in command for a cross or anything. He stands and just static a lot of the time. But I noticed today he was making a real point of going for these crosses, and just anywhere he could clear it, just get it away.
there was a save we made in the second half that was world class as well, where the boy was coming through on the edge of the 18-yard box, and Hart came down and just basically went down to ground, slid towards him, and then aggressively just took it right off his toe. And that's bravery, that's experience, getting your timing like that, So I thought he was good there, and you're correct. I thought he was a little bit better in the air today than what he usually is, and that could be. Again, if we've got coaches and people in analytics and sports science people watching all these games, then those are the things that have to be obvious. And so I don't know if I share your optimism yet, Russell. I'm just fucking jaded and too many times been let down by this club as far as like the board. And, when you think we're in a position to strengthen, we don't. I'm very much with the judge on that side, but you hope they're looking at everything and it's as obvious to them as it is to us that these are what we're lacking and this is what we need to go ahead and fix this week. But, I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have that same optimistic. How many times can they take the air out of you and expect you to jump back up like a puppy and just believe it's going to be all right?
I think it's a fair point.
And I'll eat all my words if it comes back again, but I don't know.
And vice versa.
Strengthen as much as we anticipate they're going to strengthen.
I just, my faith, and I'll repeat this till I'm blue in the faces or green in the face, is that my faith completely lies with the fact Brendan Rodgers is there. Yeah. You cannot bring back a manager whose main reasons, I think, for wanting to leave in the first place were because he didn't get backed. And now he decided to come back to not get backed again. I just can't get that in my head. It just doesn't compute. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they would go out their way to bring in someone who is an agitator when it comes to these things. They've got experience of him agitating for these things. They don't want that life. They don't want to be dealing with him fucking day on day. If it was so bad last time that they were almost glad that he was leaving, remember? That is the reality. They knew he was for the off, and I think they were quite relieved when he did go. That doesn't come back within 5 years with this leopard suddenly looking like a lion in 8 spots. It's like, fuck off, mate. Do you know what I mean? The faith that I've got is with the manager. He has no danger came back here just to fucking become Rodgers light and make the same mistakes Neil Lennon did by going, I'm just so happy to be back. I'll just take whatever it is you tell me and do whatever you want and I'll just be a puppet. Because when he was a puppet, Neil Lennon, that's where he ended up having one of the most infamous seasons ever. But I just have a feeling. That Rodgers has came back and there's terms and there's just an attitude from him in general that he can't shake. There's no way he's going to take the fall if Celtic weren't to do things this season. He's not going to take the hit for it. He's going to make sure he's in the best possible position. You can't have it both ways. Folk call him an egomaniac and stuff like that. Well, an egomaniac will definitely get his way in a window, his first window back. No two ways.
I want Maniac back though. I think that's what's missing. I want to see ego Brendan. I want to see him come in and say, no, that's not good enough. I don't want him having to say, oh, look, I've played him to show you the deficiencies. Because I didn't like that when he did that with Ralston when we played against PSG, where it was like rumoured that he wanted to, I want to show the board how much we're lacking and all that. And I go, no, that's not the time to do it. You've got a boardroom for those sort of decisions. And if you've got a pair of balls, you go walk in. You don't show it to the fans to say, look how shite we are and embarrass yourself in front of people. No, you go and you get that thing fucking sorted. And I want to make sure it gets sorted. And if it doesn't, then I have to look at it a completely different way now. It's like, okay, so what is Rodgers' agreement? Is he part of the board? Is he in with a cabal now where it's like, it's, like he gets bonuses based on, how much money we've got in the bank? Is he,
like a Jackie McNamara, Simon Donnelly at Dundee United deal? Did they not get something like, what was it? I think that they sold the player. They were getting a cut or something like that. The profit.
That's happened before.
I think the optics of that looked worse than it was. Basically, they were incentivizing them to develop their players to a level they got maximum value for. But I think it got twisted and made a wee bit darker than what it actually was in that case. But I think that's a stretch that Brendan Rodgers is part of the board. I mean, come on. Like, Phil, are we having that? Are you
No.
having that even?
No, I did like the choice word, the cabal, though. That did make me chuckle a bit there, make it like the Illuminati. No, again, I'm pinning my hopes on it as well, where this guy's came back for a reason, and it's not just to go through the motions of just, whatever, I'll just take whatever I'm given. Because, yeah, he made it very, very clear as to the reasons why he left the last time. The clues were right in front of us. People like me were too blind to see it and just, nonsense about these saying things like Marian Shved. Don't even know who he is, Why we sign another winger? We've got a million wingers. That was like a massive warning sign, that window. But again, I didn't really pay much attention to it. And a month later, he was gone. It's like, God, he was giving us the clues all the time. I can't imagine he's coming back and just going, Kwon, I'm not happy about this. So all these guys that we're signing, he's got to be signing off on them. He said before that he likes to develop players and work with younger players and bring them on a level. He's got to be having a say in this and, agreeing to it and not just basically going, oh, yes, I'm happy to be. I'll just do whatever you say. So I do feel like, and as painful as it is, and again, it goes back to we're all football fans, we're all fickle, we all want the shiny new things. We really want those big ticket players coming in now, but I think it is going to be a very late scramble in the window. As painful as it's going to be, we're going to have to sit there on deadline day watching Sky Sports News and waiting for something to come through. But I think we're going to have a very busy few weeks now between now and the window. 19 days, I think it is, it's left to deadline day. And yeah, I would think so. And I'll happily come on here if we do get the end of the window and it hasn't materialised how we thought. And I'm happily say it like it is. But at the moment, I'm still in that camp as well of, I think something big's coming. I think they're working on stuff behind the scenes. We also credit Celtic, and can't have it both ways here. We're very good at crediting Celtic over the last years of how they do keep business behind closed doors. You don't find out a lot of things until, they announce it. But at the same time now it's really quiet and people are getting like, oh, hurry up and announce something. So it's like, you can't really like on one hand say, oh, they do so well to keep it away from the press, because majority of Celtic fans hate the press and they hate the mainstream media. But we're relying on the mainstream media to tell us what's going on at our club. Our club are very good at, not letting that out there. So I guess we just have to play a waiting game. As annoying as it is, I totally understand why. But I think that's what we're facing for the next 19 days.
Yes, indeed. I think as well, Brian Murphy comes in here, Liam, and he's saying, is Big Pedro trying to call the shots again? If Big Pedro is, and I never, by the way, let's get a couple of straight. I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I felt the second that non-executive chairman stuff came out, first show we did, you did a reaction to the announcement. I was at work. And then the first show I did talking about it, I just said, look, let's cut the bullshit here. A non-executive chairman, but the only person at the club with chairman in the title is the fucking chairman, right? There's just no two ways about it. You don't have a board without a chairman. So anyone who thinks he's not doing chairman duties, he's the only one with chairman. They now just call him chairman. So that non-executive stuff was a complete bluff at the time, as we suspected on the bus. But if he is trying to call the shots again all over, I dare say he wouldn't have had Brendan Rodgers high his list, Brian, to be honest. I think that's his Antichrist. And I know they did the photo with the shaking the hands and stuff, and it's all old pals. That's when Brendan was joining the board, I suppose, Liam. But I wonder if Pedro is having such a big sway, I dare say Brendan Rodgers wouldn't have been his manager. I just feel there's so much in these next 19 days. It is a bit make or break, don't get me wrong. Some people will be right. The way I see it is you've got to wait and see. And based on what we've seen so far this summer, there has been tie-downs of talisman strikers that we expected to leave. The captain on record wages, a manager on record wages. These are signs that point us to the team will be strengthened. Also, a shift in attitude from the manager. Players that Celtic were going to sign or had on their list to sign this summer, regardless of who came in next, he's now accepting that as well. He's coming and going too. He's only going to come and go if that means he gets his way on a couple of things as well, or a couple of players here and there.
Oh, it just follows me every time I hear that impression.
Any thoughts on that, Liam?
I mean, agree with most of it, but you know what, Russell, the season started TikTok. Now's the time. 2 games into our season. We know that we've got Champions League coming up. We've got a bedding in process to learn a system now. that players have to adapt to and get into. These players should be coming in this week, next week. And I know we've only got 19 days left, but let's get the finger out. I said it last week, I wanted to see a signer. We know the positions that need to be done. Okay, if we're holding out for Tierney in the left back, I would be more than happy. I think that solves everything. You've got a stallion running down that line. That changes the whole shape of that side of the park. We're now a lot more physical, we're a lot braver, and we've got a lot more experience on that side if we get Tierney. If we don't, I want to see 2 players come in because I don't think Taylor or Burnaby will be there. And so it's okay in that place then, all right, how come these players couldn't be got in and bedded in now? We've got significant injuries out there as well. That's 3 now of the day. We've got O out, but now if CCV and Hatate both there, we don't know when Johnson's going to be back. So again, there's... Let's strengthen the squad. We've got rid of some of the dead wood, but we still have work to clear there as well. But I see your optimism, Russell, but I don't share it right now. Only because I think we allow back. I don't know. Just this board has never failed to unimpress. Just like Turnbull didn't take his shot today. Anytime the boards had a stand to stand up and be transparent, talk to the fans, like engage with them and all that stuff, they've always fucking shit the bed. Always. And so I don't think somehow that a re-energised Lowell coming back is going to have that. And I don't know. I don't know if Rodgers... I think Ange was way more of a prick and way hard to deal with than what Rodgers might be. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And that will be very, very telling. And if it does... God, disappointment right through the fan base, I think.
Oh, I think there'll be anger. There'll be anger for me, definitely. Because I don't see the point in upgrading the manager and not upgrading the transfer strategy. And then I really would be, again, holding the club to account. And what is your plan on doing with these tens of millions of pounds? There has to be a reason behind there being all that there. And you could be getting into the territory of discussions that people don't like having about cases and stuff like that. And is there actually going to be a hell of a lot of a payout and things like that? Because people are going to speculate. What is it you're doing with a big pile of money there? And, there has to be some sort of rainy day you're preparing for here or some sort of strategy at some point. There's no point in just sitting upon pile after pile of money. The money is there to get the best product in the park. But I am still in the camp that we will see significant investment between now and then. I'm still on the excitement bus, and I always was, because I never expected anyone of that standard in by now anyway. Other people are disappointed because their timeline is different from mine. I said 4 or 5 weeks ago I expected the big movement to be in the second half of August. That's what I still expect now, and we will wait and see. Ladies and gentlemen, Celtic 6 points clear, top of the table. As Talking Heads once famously sang, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Cheers, Liam. Cheers, Phil. See you there.